The big thing in gaming at the moment is the Battle Royale. It seems like there's a new Battle Royale game every week or two, like Firestorm or Apex Legends. There's one where you swim and another where you're a car. The biggest is Fortnite, and the one that set off the craze is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or PUBG. But there's a Battle Royale that predates all of these, and I've been playing it for over 20 years. It doesn't run on PC or Xbox or PlayStation. Instead, it's played in, you know, the real world. It's called 3 Club Combat, and it's a lot of fun. While one kind of game is played with juggling clubs, and one is played with a controller or keyboard and mouse, there are so many similarities in terms of game mechanics, tactics, and most importantly, how it feels to play and win. I think it's worth looking really closely at how these compare from a game design perspective. To illustrate these similarities, I'll use my own gameplay experiences. I'm very good at 3 Club Combat. I'm currently ranked #1 in the world, and I've won all the biggest tournaments. In terms of PUBG, I'm the opposite. I'm decidedly average. I'm prone to panicking and messing up stupidly, and I play on a MacBook Pro, which doesn't help at all. But I can get a win every few days, which is enough to keep me coming back for more and more punishment. So let's go deep on game design. Let's look at 8 areas where Battle Royale games and 3 Club Combat match up surprisingly closely. And keep in mind that all of these factors that make Battle Royale games unique from other computer games have existed in 3 Club Combat since the 1970s, and they evolved that way naturally rather than being designed intentionally. First, both Battle Royale games and 3 Club Combat are massively multiplayer, with typically 100 players in video games, and however many jugglers can fit in the space with 3 Club Combat. That could be half a dozen, or a couple of hundred jugglers at the biggest juggling events. And in both, it's every player for him or herself, not 2 large teams or armies. Second, there's Circles of Death. All Battle Royale games concentrate action by slowly shrinking the playable area. After set times, the circle shrinks at various rates to random locations. With 3 Club Combat, the shrinking circle is often literal and physical. All the players already knocked out will approach those remaining, corralling them into a smaller and smaller space. However, this sometimes makes the final moments harder to see for anyone watching, so typically the circle is assumed by the players, and once it's down to the last few, they try to battle it out quickly instead of avoiding each other. Third is that the games are stateless. Everybody enters the arena equally. No player has any advantage over another except their skill. If you're a better player, you're more likely to win, and you can't pay to win more often. The fourth is permadeath. The single-player versions of Battle Royale games and 3 Club Combat both have permadeath. If you're out for the rest of the game. The fifth similarity is spectating. You've been knocked out, so now it's time to watch. What you're hoping for is that the player who knocked you out will go on to win the entire game. That way you can claim to be the next best player and were just unlucky to encounter the very best before the end. Sixth is that there's phases to the game. 3 different phases. The early part of the game is the most random part. In PUBG, you can be knocked out right away just because you don't find a weapon. You've got to hope that whoever is close by doesn't have one either, and that you're good at punching. If you get knocked out early on, you've just got to roll with it and wait for the next game.
Sorry.
In 3 Club Combat, the randomness comes from positioning and overcrowding. The unwritten rule is that you don't immediately attack the player right next to you, but clashes and random collisions usually diminish the player pool by half pretty quickly anyway. Then there's the mid-game. As games progress, the playstyles change. It's less about random encounters and more about positioning, staying aware of what's happening around you, taking some fights where you have the advantage and avoiding those where you don't. And then there's the final circle. When it gets down to the last 4 or 5 players, the style of play changes again. You can't avoid a fight, so it's all about pure skill. With 2 players left, there are no other distractions, so the final moments are the most tense. The 7th similarity is that the last player remaining wins. The circle is going to shrink to nothing. You know where your opponent is hiding. Do you have what it takes? It all comes down to this.
Nice.
With computer games, there's a perfect clarity on the moment of victory. When your opponent's hit points reach 0, however long that might take, you win.
Finally.
With juggling, it's a bit more complicated, as it's not about who drops their clubs last, but who keeps juggling the longest. In more casual games, nobody cares if both final players drop, but as part of a public event and for an audience, if both drop, they'll both pick up and have another go at deciding an unambiguous winner.
We have a winner!
And the eighth similarity comes when the game has ended. You play another round. When the game's finished, just wait, and everyone enters the circle again and takes another go at it. There are variations on many of these points. For example, team versions of Battle Royale games and 3-club combat exist where you revive teammates, and in both it's possible to win even if you're not a participating player at the end of the game or you've already been knocked out.
That's it, you and John. Get in. Yes?
So there's some similarities in game design. Next up, let's compare the goals of the players. Due to there being 100 players per game and only one winner per game, most players don't win most of the time. In fact, most players will play for hours or days or months or years without ever winning. But in a game where you don't win, where's the fun?
No!
The great thing about Battle Royale games and 3-club combat is that they allow all players of all skill levels to set their own goals and play the way they want, and to achieve what they want. For example, to start with, all you want to do is not be the first one out of the game. Coming 96th out of 96 players? Well, that's just embarrassing. Next, you want to get into a fight, and maybe not win the fight, but at least not get knocked out by the first person that you meet. Next, you want to get into one fight and knock out one other player. It's very, very satisfying when you do that for the first time in 3-club combat or in a Battle Royale game. Then, you want to stay in the game past the first stage, past all the randomness so you can move around without anyone randomly bumping into you and knocking you out. Next, you want to knock out multiple players. It's very satisfying to string together a series of encounters with other players and survive all the way through. Then the next goal is to win by being the last alive. Yes, it's possible to win club combat by the other players leaving you juggling alone. In PUBG, you can win by other players dying to the shrinking circle. You've got to get lucky with the map though, like you've got to be at the bottom of a cliff while they're stranded at the top of a cliff. Or maybe the other way around, and you're the unlucky one in this situation. The final goal is, of course, to win by knocking out the second to last player. If you're a good juggler or a good gamer, you can get a long way with pre-existing skill. If I'm at a small event where I know the competition isn't high, it's not even a question of if I'll win or not, but how many other players I can take out along the way. In this case, 6 of the 12 opponents. However, I came to PUBG with pretty mediocre FPS skills, and it took me 169 games before my first solo win, and only because I played third person and got lucky in the fog. But once you know you can win, you can set yourself other goals or challenges, like win on all the different maps in all the different game modes. Or when the rest of your squad has been eliminated, maybe you can take revenge and kill all 4 players on the next squad that you meet. Every game presents new opportunities for new challenges, and sometimes you just want to drive around and do crazy stunts.
Ow, that hurt so much. Oh, that's really high. That's really high. Hey, 4-wheel landing.
Finally, let's look at some of the tactical similarities between Battle Royale games and 3-club combat. For a start, you can play aggressively so people don't come near. Fear can work on your side. In neither games do you want to be stuck in a corner. Being in a corner might feel like a safe place to be, but it generally isn't. If you play a lot, you don't need to be looking at a player to knock them out. You get a feel for where they're going to be, where they're going to be standing, where they're going to be throwing their club, or where their head is going to be at exactly the right moment. And then there's the third-party attack. You see someone is distracted by another fight, that's a good time to swoop in and take them out of the game. Also, what if someone has their back to you and they're looking the other way? This is a perfect time to attack. Maybe you're wanting some fun and you know someone is close by. It's possible to get their attention for a battle by firing into the air. If they reply, it's game on. You track them down and take the fight. The same kind of challenges happen in combat circles all the time too. Of course, the main thing they have in common is that you should always keep moving and not make yourself an easy target. Keep moving, either away from the action or towards it. Never stand still for more than a second. Keep moving and the other players might knock themselves out due to unforced error. This happened to me in one game and I had to load up the replay to see how I won. Turns out I just moved so much they never had a clean shot to take and I won by default. Of course this happens in 3-club combat. It's down to the final 2, I'll keep moving, and the other player will drop when they run out of space. It's not the most satisfying way to win, but hey, a win is a win. Of course, just keeping moving isn't foolproof. With a skilled enough player, either with combat or with a battle royale game, running or jumping is no guarantee you're not going to be taken out.
Got him. Ah, what a shot.
Overall, the gameplay experiences of battle royale games and 3-club combat are so similar that they provide me with similar feelings. The early chaos, the rising tension, the disappointment at coming second, and the release of getting a win. It took me 14 years and 8 finals appearances to win the EJC Fight Night Combat Tournament, the biggest club combat tournament in the world. But the biggest events only happen once per year, and it's hard to get this kind of satisfaction when you don't have 100 other jugglers around to play combat with you. PUBG allows me to experience the highs that are comparable to any sporting victory. The first time I won a duos game with a friend, we were just screaming like idiots. Helping a team to victory, even if I'm dead at the end, can make my day. And now, even though I can win quite regularly, because it requires so much skill, the satisfaction pays off all the hours of work and frustration.
Boom! Oh boy!
So if you're interested in seeing more juggling combat action, check out other videos right here on my YouTube channel, or head over to fightnightcombat.com to see the latest results and rankings, and if there's any tournaments or events near you in the future. Thanks for watching, and please consider supporting me on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Luke Burridge.
He's behind the 55.
Oh, I see him. Nice! Good game, man. Good game. I only had 1 kill.